Ekene's first encounter with Ada, a new sense of power and excitement took over him. The intimacy they shared was something he had always dreamed of. But experiencing it with Ada, the bold, confident senior, who had been so eager to please him, was different. He felt a rush, an adrenaline that coursed through his veins, and it sparked something inside him. It was as if the walls between the teacher and the student had dissolved, and Ekene no longer felt the weight of responsibility that initially held him back. In days that followed, his attitude changed. The charm he used to woo his students was no longer just for casual conversations. Ekene began to see each girl as a challenge, a conquest to add to his growing list. What had started with Ada was now a tempting game. A game he intended to play by his own rules. Soon, he began approaching other senior students, offering extra lessons, help with assignments, or just casual chats after class. His words were carefully chosen, smooth and confident, making sure to establish a bond of trust before he hinted at something more. Some of the girls like Kemi were more reserved, but Ekene knew how to break down their walls. He would flatter them relentlessly, making them feel seen and special in a way that none of their peers ever had. Slowly, his room became a heaven for these girls. Some would bring snacks, others would offer to clean, and a few would even confide in him about their deepest desires. The next day, during one of his lessons, Ekene was teaching a complex mathematics topic that involved attraction forces, something Miriam had been struggling to understand. Miriam, a quiet senior known for her shy smile and innocent air, hesitated but raised her hand. "Sir, I am having trouble understanding this concept. Can you please explain to me again?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with genuine curiosity. Ekene smiled, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Of course, Miriam," he said smoothly. "This is a tricky one, but I think I can help you out. Why don't you meet me after school? We can go over it in more details. Just the two of us." Miriam nodded, feeling a mix of nerves and hope. She'd always admired Ekene's confidence and had heard the whispers among her peers about how he had helped others with their studies. She was eager to get a better grade, and she trusted Ekene. After all, he was the best teacher in the school. When the school finally ended, Miriam made her way to Ekene's room. As she knocked on the door, Ekene opened it with a warm, inviting smile. "Miriam, come in. I've been waiting for you." Ekene guided her to a desk where a few scattered books and papers lay, making it seem like they were about to dive into something academic. Miriam sat down, ready to tackle her studies. But Ekene was already leaning over her, his breath warm against her neck as he pointed to the equations on the page. "See, Miriam," Ekene began, his voice low and smooth. "The concept here is about attraction. You know, the same kind of attraction we feel between people. How things pull towards one another. It's not just physics, it's all around us. Human attraction too follows a similar pattern." Miriam shifted in her seat, her heart racing slightly. She had never really thought about attraction in those terms. She focused on the math. But his words had a strange way of making her feel a little nervous. Ekene continued, his hand brushing over the paper, his fingers grazing her slightly. Miriam froze for a second, but Ekene gave her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, Miriam, you will be fine," he said, his voice oozing with charm. But his touch lingered, his hand gently resting on her arm. "The forces of attraction are powerful, Miriam," Ekene whispered. "You can feel it between us, can't you?" Miriam looked up at him, confused and overwhelmed by the sensation stirring inside her. She tried to pull away, but Ekene was already moving closer. "It's natural," he continued. "Attraction is just something that happens, and I can help you understand it better." But before she could respond, His hand brushed lightly against her chest. Miriam's breath hitched in surprise. She pulled back slightly, but Ekene gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "Miriam," he said softly, "I know this is a lot to take in, but I promise, if you just trust me, I will help you pass your exams. You will get the grade you deserve." His words had a strange effect on her. Miriam had always worked hard, and the thought of doing well in her final exam and having Ekene's approval was something she desperately wanted. The idea of pleasing him, of earning his favor, made her heart race. And without too much hesitation, Miriam gave in. Afterwards, Ekene looked at her with a mixture of tenderness and dominance. "Don't tell anyone, Miriam. This is between us. No one needs to know what we have. You are special to me, and I will make sure you have everything you need. Your grades will be perfect, I promise." Miriam, her emotions swelling, nodded quietly. She felt a rush of excitement mixed with guilt, unsure of what had just happened. Ekene's words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, promising her not just good grades, but something more, something she hadn't known she was looking for. And so, Ekene kept on having his way. Ekene's audacity didn't stop at the confines of the school. As his exploits grew bolder, so did his tactic. He realized that luring girls to his room at the school lodge was becoming too risky. Too many eyes, too many whispers. So he devised a more discreet plan. A plan that involved booking hotel rooms near the school. The hotels were modest, located just far enough from the school to avoid suspicion, but close enough for the girls to sneak away conveniently. Ekene would meticulously plan each meeting, ensuring the time and location suited the girls' schedules. His promises were always enticing: extra lessons, help with upcoming exams, or even just a safe space to relax and talk away from the pressures of the school. For the girls, the allure was hard to resist. Ekene had mastered the art of persuasion, using his smooth tongue and charming demeanor to paint himself as someone who genuinely cared for their well-being. Most of the girls, though young and impressionable, were not naive. They understood his intention, but convinced themselves it was a harmless fun. After all, wasn't Ekene the most handsome and charismatic young teacher in the school? To keep their secret meetings hidden, the girls crafted elaborate lies for their parents. Some told their mothers they were going to study with a friend, while others claimed they were meeting up with classmates for a harmless outing. The lies were convincing enough, and their unsuspecting parents allowed them the freedom they craved. Clad in casual clothes and carrying backpacks stuffed with books as props, the girls would slip out of their homes with giddy excitement, their hearts racing at the thought of meeting Ekene. When they arrived at the hotel, Ekene would be waiting for them, his confident smile and sweet words making them feel like the center of his universe. He would order snacks or drinks, sometimes pretending to start with lessons to ease their nerves. But as the minutes ticked by, the books will be forgotten, and Ekene's true intention would become clear. These secret affairs became a routine for him. Ekene took great care to ensure the meetings didn't overlap or arouse suspicion. He kept a mental list of the girls he was involved with and made sure they felt unique, as though each one held a special place in his heart. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to show. And while Ekene thought he was in control, he failed to realize that his actions were leaving behind a trail. One fateful day, Ada was in the kitchen helping her mother prepare dinner. The aroma of spices and sizzling oil filled the air. But suddenly, Ada felt nauseous. She dropped the spoon she was holding and bolted for the bathroom. Bent over the sink, she vomited violently, her hands trembling. "Jesus! Ada, what is wrong with you?" her mother Ngozi cried as she rushed into the bathroom. She placed her hand on her forehead and noticed her skin was hot. "You are burning up. What is wrong with you?" "We are going to the hospital now." At the hospital, Ngozi watched anxiously as the doctor ran tests on her daughter. When the doctor finally came out, his face was grave. "Madam, please, I would love to speak with your daughter privately." "No, doctor," Ngozi replied. "She's my daughter and I have the right to know her medical condition." "Okay, madam, if you say so." "Young lady, when last did you see your period?" the doctor queried Ada. 2 months ago, sir." Ada's mother's eyes widened in shock. "Ada, 2 months ago?" she yelled. "Madam, from the result I have here, it shows that your daughter is pregnant." The word hit like a thunderbolt. Ngozi staggered back, gripping the wall for support. She turned to Ada, tears streaming down her face. "Pregnant? Ada, how could you? Who is responsible for this?" Through sobs, Ada admitted it's Corper Ekene. Ngozi's pain turned to anger. "That boy took advantage of your innocence. He will hear from me." On the other hand, Miriam, known for her reserved nature, had been keeping her symptoms to herself. One afternoon, while fetching water at the backyard, she doubled over and began vomiting. Her younger sister, startled, ran into the house shouting, "Papa, Miriam is sick." Their father, Mr. Akpan, rushed outside to find Miriam weak and pale. He helped her into the car and drove straight to the hospital. There, the news hit him like a thunderbolt. Miriam was also pregnant. "Who?" Mr. Akpan demanded. "Who did this to you?" Through tears, Miriam admitted it was Corper Ekene. Mr. Akpan's face darkened. "That boy will regret this," he declared. Soon, the other girls began experiencing similar symptoms. One by one, their pregnancies were confirmed, and all fingers pointed at Corper Ekene. In one day, 4 parents stormed the school, furious and demanding answers. "How could this happen?" they yelled at the principal, Mrs. Abo. "What kind of school are you running?" Mrs. Abo, visibly shaken, immediately summoned Ekene to her office. When the girls confirmed him as the culprit, she called Ekene's parents and informed them of the situation. Chief Dike, Ekene's father, arrived with his wife, Nwaka. Upon hearing the accusations, Chief Dike tried to bribe the angry parents. "Please, let's settle this quietly. I will compensate everyone," he pleaded. But Miriam's father, a top politician, refused. "You think this is all about money? I have already reported this to the NYSC head office." Immediately, Ekene's service year was terminated. He was arrested and charged to court. During trial, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The judge declared him guilty, sentencing him to several years in prison. In prison, Ekene had plenty of time to reflect on his actions. He realized the depth of the harm he had caused and resolved to turn his life around. Back at home, the scandal took a toll on his family. Chief Dike, unable to bear the disgrace, fell seriously ill. His blood pressure skyrocketed, and despite medical care, he passed away. Nwaka, Ekene's mother, was inconsolable. "I warned you," she often cried. "I begged you to change, but you wouldn't listen." She regretted not being more strict with him during his childhood. Despite the scandals, the school allowed the girls to continue their education after giving birth. Their parents took care of the babies, enabling the girls to focus on their studies. They worked hard to rebuild their lives, determined not to let the past define them. 4 years later, Ekene was released from prison. He returned home to find his father gone. The loss hit him hard, but it strengthened his resolve to live a better life. He began working on becoming a changed man, using his experience to mentor young boys about the danger of irresponsibility and abuse of power. Ekene learned that abusing trust and power leads to destruction, and that it's never too late to seek redemption. Chief Dike realized too late that indulgence without discipline destroys children. Nwaka understood the importance of consistent discipline in parenting. The girls learned resilience and the importance of making better choices in the future. The parents learned the value of vigilance in protecting their children. The school also learned the need for stricter oversight and accountability. This story serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of poor choices and the importance of discipline, vigilance, and second chances. Thank you for watching, and see you on my next story.